an exciting day we're going to have together today. And I'm actually very happy with what happened in cryptocurrency yesterday. I'm very pleased that it took the down route before we had the FOMC meeting, at least the back end of it today. Jerome Powell, usually it's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'd get together, 1:45 p.m. to 2 p.m. We'd start watching them. Then I'd have to go get my son from school around 2:40-ish, and then I would just come back, but I would let it keep running. Today it's different. My son has a snow day, and it's not at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because we had the clock flip back. So in the first live yesterday, I misspoke, but because we had the hour flip back in the USA, now it's going to be 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when Jerome Powell speaks instead of 2. So we should get some kind of decision around 12:50 p.m. roughly. So this is going to be a very volatile day. There's a lot of things that are adding up with Bitcoin. Bitcoin shorts will lose in excess of 1.5 billion if Bitcoin gets back to 95.1K. And that's not even the coup de grace. If it goes up even higher to 97, 98, 99, it's even bigger liquidities. We know the rising wedge resistance at 101K. We talked yesterday about where everything was at. What looked like a good deal around 4.7, 4.8 was XDC because it tends to lag by about a day. So you can legitimately watch XRP, XLM, the rest of the data points in the market, and then know that typically XDC is one daily candle behind. And again, that means we have to watch it. Is it breaking out, or is this just doing what everything did before? And then it's going to have its little correction. XDC has come up out, and everybody asked me yesterday, and I said once it breaks out of this 4.8, we should be pushing up towards this 5.03. That was our expectation yesterday. And then if it goes beyond that, if we hold this layer here, then we can start running the 200-day. But it's doing exactly what we thought yesterday. Why we thought it was a good buy when it made this wick down. And at the very least, we talked about that 7-8% move up. That would you want to buy it on the wick down somewhere around here at 4.7, let's just say? Or would you want to spend 6% more when it came up to that resistance and then have to have that FOMO moment? So XDC is falling pretty universal, what I would like to see. However, we know it's a day behind. So that's just something we have to deal with. XLM's ironic because we've seen in the XLM XRP pairing that it was about to have a surge against XRP. And then when we started looking at the charts, we said, is it going to have a surge or is it just going to fall less than XRP? And it had a nice little move yesterday. It was up 6% and then it gave it back, most of it, just like everything else. But I want to do a deep focus right now. And I was very disappointed with the live last night. We had 120 people in there, but yet YouTube didn't put it out until this morning, and it only got it had 490 views during the live itself. It got not even 200 views since they posted it because they just put it out this morning, which is disturbing. So that's another caveat that I've got to think about when doing 2 lives a day because YouTube is shadow banning me so hardcore that if I do 2 lives a day, it's going to overshadow one of them because they're not putting my content out. It's just that simple. It's by some miracle we have 48,000 subscribers in this community. I do wish they would give notifications, but they simply don't. And it's starting to become very apparent. The reason why most people get here in the morning is because they're in the Telegram. And then by those people being in here, it helps push out the algorithm because there's 60, 70, there's 79 people here and we just started. But no, there's been no notification. I didn't get one on my phone. I didn't get one on my tablet that I'm doing the live on. I didn't get one on the tablet I use Julie's account on so I can see all the comments. So I'm going to share it myself and just put live as I do the intro. Good morning. 10:25 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. Very rainy and snowy. Well, it's gonna freeze now, but we had about 3 to 4 inches of snow overnight. But then it started to have this rain, freezing rain, choppiness. So I went out there and shoveled before the live, which is why I'm about 5 minutes late. And salted down, but. A little secret for everybody. Water softener, the salt you put in your water softeners, it's a little bit thicker pieces of salt. Works better than standard salt, and it's about 1/10 the price. I found it out last year. I started using that instead, and let me tell you, not only does it deal with the snow that comes down, there's enough of it left over to where it'll help melt the lower layers when it snows again. And then it doesn't drag in your house because they're thicker pieces of salt. I never realized that until last year, and I started to do some research. And yeah, it changed my world. It's a little heavier to put down, but it definitely works phenomenally. So anyhow, good morning, everybody. I thank everybody for being here. If you are tuning in, make sure to hit that like button and share this on social media to try to expand our reach. We want to see red going into the FOMC meeting. So yesterday was going up and we talked about if we could back test this move, because remember, XRP came up from the bottom about 7 days ago. Let me go back here so we can see this in a universal way. And then I'm going to show you the liquidations for Bitcoin. I'm going to show you exactly where they stand so that you don't have to guess. If XRP falls below 206, it gives us that little extension down to 201-ish. If it loses that, then we know we're probably coming towards $1.85. Just simple, simplistic, keep it easy between the lines. But I want everybody to understand, this is not as bad as it looks right now. This is exactly what we wanted after that push up yesterday. The fact that it didn't come all the way to 222 is beautiful. That it got shot down at 217 is phenomenal. I know a lot of people are like, what is he talking about? Why is he so happy about it going down? The last thing we wanted was this pumping into the news of a rate cut. That's the last thing we wanted. In fact, we would like to see it dumping into that announcement. So if we could come down another few percent, I would even be happy. But right now we've come down about 5.8% from that peak move yesterday. And if you push it from the bottom, we would have to drop 15.7. So we're about 40% down from the move up. Maybe a little bit less, but we're making a nice retracement here to try to find some even ground. Find some even grounding. And like I would probably say you could come out like this. But the only reason we did this is because we wanted to see the way it was pushing. But I would honestly say, with the evidence in front of us, keep it open. Because you have that wick low. It comes from here to a wick low. I would just say, because it matches here at $2, that's your make it or break it point. I had it here so you could see in the micro what we could hold in an even smaller fashion. Because I like to have these levels within levels so that we can see it immediately when it starts to break down. So now that we're below it, a rejection at 207 could signal a drop to 201 very quickly. But I'm very, 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 very excited about this time right now. I'm very excited. And yes, there's a lot of red. But we've been doing this very strategically over the past several months and trying to position for the action moments. You hear me say it all the time. I want to be part of the action moments. If it breaks down, you take it as it is. Okay, if it's breaking down, well, then the action moment failed, and we've got to approach this in a different way. For Bitcoin, the best way to look at this right now is you've got resistance forming over the top, and I dare say we can change this just a little bit to try to match what we're seeing now. So if you come through like this, that's going to be a major area of concern because you came out here. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. Let's make this a little easy. You know what? Why am I using this chart? Let's make it a little easier to read. Let's use this chart. So, and these are absolutely what you cannot afford to fall through for Bitcoin. We drew this before, and I'll make this easier to read. Sometimes when I'm on my phone looking at this after the live, it gets messed up. So then I never fix it until we come back live because I want everybody to kind of see the rendition, the reinterpretation, so that you can draw this yourself. Like, legitimately, you could draw this yourself. And like, the difference between a class style setting and what I do here is I can't go through everything, but each and every day I give you small bits on how to do the charts. It's in the action moment of where we're at in the charts, and then we go beyond to kind of talk about, you know, some of the more fundamentally appropriate ways of doing this. And right now, I think this would be appropriate. And you can see we're stuck within this. And we need to see in Bitcoin, if we're in a bear flag, as we've been talking about, or like some kind of bearish consolidation. Because if it is, and this fails, this would drop at the 72. Like, there's no doubt about it if this fails. And right now, you got 86,900 underneath. It would bring you into that red circle. Once you get into that red circle, you are in shit zone. You do not want to be in this circle. And we can make it smaller right now because it's being shrunk a little bit because the area is shrinking. But you do not want to be in that red circle. Once you get into that red circle, that's liquidity circle. That means you can come all the way back down to the rising wedge target drop of 72,000 and some change. And if you lose that circle, let's say you're trading within and you lose that, you can open up the door to the official drop down to the rising wedge official breakdown at max capacity at 59K. And it makes sense because it's the cup and handle back test. The fact we never back tested that handle is still scary as hell, but it leaves a lot of opportunity here. Bitcoin is reversing up right now in the weekly. And honestly, that pull down yesterday, if we had any chance during this rate cut to push up, this is the opportunity we needed. We needed a pull down leading into the actual announcement. You want to sell the news and buy the event. The only way to buy the event, we had a nice artificial run up yesterday, which is what you want to see for that fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the FUD, and the fear of missing out with FOMO. That helps increase the volatility. The only way to move this up how we want is volatility. And I know it's a scary word, volatility. And since we're talking about this right now, let's get that chart out real quick. And I have it in Telegram. I have it on Facebook. However you want to look at it is up to you. But this is this. So if we come through here, we can see how this liquidity works. And this is from CoinGlass, so you can go look. And you can see how it adds up. And especially, and not just 95,100. That's just where you get a big portion of liquidity here. Let me do this. Over here is just where you can get a big portion of liquidity. See this 95.2 right here? So once this candle ends, this is where I was basing it on in this zone. Now look what happens if you push out. You've got strong liquidity all the way through here, all the way up through 97, 98. So just because I put 1.5 billion, I think it's realistic to think you could chop all the way up and still not break through. But assuming you break through, you've got $4 billion of liquidity. When you look at the, well, I mean, you have to look at it different because you have long liquidity and short liquidity. But you can see it starts to add up here. But 95,200 is where you start to do this little peak. But it does push up here as you go out. So, and it shows you different exchanges. Binance, you can see how much of the liquidity comes from Binance, OKX, Bybit. They do the higher ones on CoinGlass. So that's just an interpretation of how much could be liquidated here. And we'll go into the long-short ratio. We'll go into our own expectations too, not just one that's already out here. But I love being able to draw on this. So at 93, 94, okay, we start to zone out. This is where it can get very, 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 very top heavy. If we get through these ones, and then we end up working our way through. If we get back here, I mean, look at how high this liquidation goes. These are cumulative long liquidations. See this line? That's your cumulative short liquidations here as it continues to increase as the price goes up. Notice how it's small down at 93, and by the time you get to 96, it increases exponentially. This is the kind of information that I hope you guys stick around for. I hope you enjoy this kind of information because this is what's going to lead us in the right direction. Now, if it continues to dump as we get closer to 1 o'clock, could it signal that we're only going to get a 25 basis points? I think there's two indicators that'll tell us it's only 25. One, the US dollar likely could show a little volatility to the upside. I expect oil this morning to dump down. I'd be stunned if it sits around 60. It should be down farther than that. Gold, I'd be shocked if it holds 4,200, and silver should be retesting 60 and maybe even 59 to put in volatile legs if we get exactly what we think in the rate cut. If we get 50 basis points, it's going to completely flip this market upside down, and it's going to reverse this really quickly for the next couple of weeks, you would think. If we get 25 basis points, I unfortunately think that could be priced in. And that's unfortunate because 25 might not move the needle. It could, but it may not move the needle. I think people are betting on the fact they want 50 basis points to give us some upward volatility here this morning. I'm open for answers or questions, interpretations from the audience. DXY sitting around 99. US 10 years down about 0.5% or 2 basis points to 4.17%. We've got West Texas Intermediate Crude Oil WTI at $57.79 a barrel. And I believe the assault on oil is going to continue here in the short term because Trump, TT, I got to work. I got to work, TT. I got to work, buddy. You can take this if you want. But we've got WTI crude sitting at 57.80, and Trump, the USA's talked about the fact how they're gonna bring down the cost of oil. They're talking about gas pricing coming down, so I think this is going to continue to come down if you're talking about oil. How are you, buddy? I gotta finish this, bud. I can't just stop, buddy. You want something? I'll be right back, everybody. Where's your stuff at, TT? Where's your stuff? Sorry about that, everybody. For anybody who doesn't know, my son's special needs and he's nonverbal, so sometimes I gotta get up during my lives, and there's not much I can do about it. Does it get frustrating at times? Sure, whenever you try to put in some real work and then, it's a constant interruption, it can fuck with your mindset. But you gotta do what you gotta do. So, appreciate the ones who are here. If you left, nothing I can do about it. Doing the best I can. Could this be the dragon tail pattern we've seen in December? It's possible. It's possible. We'd have to imitate it, but right now, in the immediate short term, it looks like a bearish reversal in the 4-hourly. Now, are we trying to set up a further move for when they announce the rate cuts? Are we given a little bit of key data here that it might not be lining up the way we want? That's impossible to say right now. You would expect it to have some kind of downward volatility until we start to get closer to 1 p.m. We start looking across the market and seeing gold down about $13, seeing silver down about 1/4 of 1%. Seems to be in line with what we would want. I like seeing that oil is going down and the oil and gas incorporated companies are going down. But like I said, that's more of an assault, on trying to lower the prices of gas in the USA and trying to put some negative spin. I think next year, as we get into mid-2026, we're going to have a very volatile breakout in black oil or black gold oil and the exploration and companies that, I don't want to say blank check companies, but the ones that help back the exploration for further oil production and exploration. So I think that's a dynamic we're going to face next year. And once we get that volatile swing down, I'm all hands on deck, if I'm being honest. Right now for XRP, if we continue to pull down here, you could look, like we've said, that $1.85 if it breaks down. I mean, I've drawn it out just in case on this. You can push it out a little bit. Maybe it comes out to here. But if we have a pull down here, that would be the most likely area that this pulls down. So, be interesting. Yeah, Axelar, I mean, it had a nice couple of days, but it literally hasn't done anything. It had a nice pull down back down near 10 cents, and then all it did, just like everything else, yeah, they had a nice few days. But what are we really talking about right now? Axelar's only come back, and this is the problem with a lot of this right now. All these have done, like Axelar was at 20 cents just back on November 15th. So good day, yes, but, it's still down. It even came up to this rejection point perfectly. So, yeah, nice movement. But at the end of the day, it's still coming up for a rejection. That's what we have to worry about. If these are all coming up for a rejection, this is going to be bad. Now, if it can maintain and push over, this isn't just... This isn't, what do we call it? This isn't just for Axelar. This is basically across the board. A lot of these have come up to the rejection areas. So we've got to make sure we can power through these areas. 4 hourly, trying to see if we can hold the 200-day, which would be the first step of a short-term pattern reversal, is getting back on top of the 4 hour. Well, actually, the first step would be the 20 crossing the 50-day moving average, just to show some kind of steam. Now it's coming up through the 100. Generally, you'd get either a back test here and wait, and we power out here. But since we got rejected, we're slightly below that 1378 on Axelar. So it's going to be very volatile. So just, it is what it is right now across the board. Basically, everything has just come up to the rejection point. You can say the same thing for XRP. It just hasn't been able to push out yet. And now we're stuck in between. Like, we came up to that. This is the most important to me. This 216 over the top, the fact we got rejected at this spot, that to me, you could extend back down. To me, that's a key movement there. That seems like a key movement that we got rejected there. It doesn't mean the pattern's done. It just means that we're still volatile in the range. So we got rejected here. And then if we're trying to back test the breakout now and hold this level, we need to hold 2065. And as it goes on, maybe 206. But you're not going to want to keep falling through this area. And then we spoke about the $1.99, $2 area. That's underneath, and that's basically our last-ditch effort in this, what is this, about a 10-day pattern or so? Yeah, 10-day pattern right now. So that's the pattern evolution right now. Or the lack of evolution. So we're still within, I still think we're in a megaphone until it breaks down, but you have to look at it in several different dynamics. That's why there's several different charts, because it breaks through. You've got these more short-term setups, which a lot of people like to say micro, and then you've got more macro setups, but there's still different fundamentals within a micro setting. Like, just because one chart's a micro, one might be a smaller interpretation of the micro factors, or one might be a bigger interpretation of a macro, but just on a smaller dynamic. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult. It ran 120% on Coinbase. What, Axelar? That's way too much volatility. It didn't have 120% total market move. Well, that's just exchange volatility. Did it come right back down to 13 cents? They do it all the time. That's how they liquidate the long or the short traders on a bullshit push up that's not even relevant, and then it comes right back down to liquidate all the longs. If it went up 120%, I wouldn't be trading XLR on that exchange, to be honest with you, because it technically only had like a 30-something% move, if that, something like that. I always look for that on exchanges. If there's way too much volatility, you're just going to get yourself caught in a dick boob. It's going to be like you're getting caught in a vice. Your balls are going to be crunching the vice, because when you buy, it's one thing, but when you go to sell, you're screwed. There's too much volatility. There's no, how could it have moved 100 and something% on, I got to go to Coinbase. And in what period of time? Like, what period of time? Are you talking about from this 10-2 floor that it had just now? So 48%, and you're saying it moved 130. That's way too much volatility. Way too much for that move that it had. But it won't show me XLR on Coinbase? Why won't it show me it on Coinbase? That's good. That's good information you shared, though. It's at 17 cents on... There's no way. Why is it so high on Coinbase? That's a big problem right now. It's at 17 cents on Coinbase. That doesn't even make sense. Yeah, I would be seriously skeptical of it on Coinbase, because it is not at that pricing is not at 17 right now. Who's ever on Coinbase is getting walloped, because there's no way you're selling it for those prices. Some people try to send it from one exchange to the next and then just get screwed. I wouldn't advise doing that. Like, if you bought it at 13 and you're thinking you're going to get 17 on Coinbase, I got news for you. Okay, you doubled your money in an hour. Did you sell it? I've seen this a gazillion times. You're not up anything except paper money. You can't sell any of these. I mean, if you sell it and it gives you that price, congratulations. It won't let you sell it. If you sell it right now, there's no way the orders are at 17. Now, maybe it'll let you buy it up there. I've seen this a gazillion times when exchanges do this. I'm telling you for a fact, that's not the right price on XLR. It should be about 13 something. The fact that Coinbase says that should scare you. I wouldn't trade it on there. You're up in paper money. This is the greatest scam ever invented on the actual retail trader that doesn't know anything. This is what everybody sees. Like, it's not at that price. It never was. The highest it should have got was like 15 cents. So if you're on an exchange where it got higher than that, it's too much volatility. Now, it might come up faster later, but right now, that's a lot of volatility. Read that. Read what you just said, Cannabis Podcast. Is that not impossible? The OCC confirmed U.S. banks can conduct riskless principal crypto transactions. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as riskless in crypto. Not even stable coins are riskless because they have so many fees on certain exchanges. You ever switch into a stable coin and it's costing you 2, 3, 5% to make the move? I really think that they're really fucking with us now. Big time. We can see the writing on the wall for crypto. It's the never was, never will be. At one time, without regulations, it was something. It was something. Now it's a pile of shit. My foot has one step out the door and one foot firmly in the door, but I can see the writing on the wall. This whole thing is a bunch of bullshit. Because if it wasn't, there wouldn't be clarity in regulations. If it was really meant to be what it was, it wouldn't have all that stuff. Everything they keep adding to it keeps bringing the price down. All this nonsense brings it down. Now, I still believe there's going to be a huge blow off the top here before it's over. But I think a lot of people are just going to hold it forever, and they're going to be down 99.9% on most things. How do you figure? How do you guys always say this? You guys are so wrong. How do you think regulations are bringing in lifelong gains? Do you understand what regulations mean? This was supposed to be an unregulated market. Try to convince multi-billionaires who actually are trading outside of the government's control. That's right, controlled opposition like Saylor and all the rest who buy into Bitcoin to trick you. Controlled opposition, look it up. This doesn't even make sense. How does regulations make a market that was supposed to go against government regulations and be an unregulated market for the people? How is it if it's regulated, it's going to be even more expansive? Does anybody even understand how dumb we are? Regulations does not equal life-changing gains. Regulation equals crypto casino ends. It's a big difference. I mean, there's so many people that got this wrong. You are going to be so pissed in a couple of years. I know we're going to amen, and that's why I keep saying once these regulations fully go in, that's why I have a profound setup to where we can still trade XRP and some others through the ETFs and stock market and the acquisition corporations that have done this, because crypto is becoming a game that isn't worth it. People get pissed when I say it, but do you think it's by design that all these alt tokens that are utility tokens are down 90% from the 21 highs? This whole thing is a nightmare. The whole tug of crypto was it was beyond government overreach, and it was an unregulated, untouched market. Now it's in control of every government around the world, completely regulated, and with the Clarity Act and continued regs, I keep telling you guys, I'm one step out because of it. See, now you're going to the extreme, John. Who said all crypto was going to zero in 28? Nobody said that. Don't go to the other extreme. Don't just say so all crypto, because now it invalidates what I'm trying to say. By just, now we go to the complete other opposite. It's going to zero. That's not what I said. I just said if you want those life-altering cap gains that are going to go like that, you can't do it with regs. Do you ever hear of halt? What are you guys going to do the first time they halt crypto trading when it goes up? Or the first time that they halt buys and only allow sell orders like they do in the stock market? What's going to happen the first time they do that? You guys are all going to jump off a freaking cliff. Don't give them the power to control your supposed decentralized exchanges. Guess what? Just like XRP and most of them, they're centralized for a reason. Now, most people are going to leave, but that's the truth. Like, everybody thinks these, it drives me nuts. I don't understand how so many people believe that U.S. regulations is good for crypto, or worldwide regulations are good for crypto. When the whole, you want to know what's funny? It went from being a store of value to digital gold. You know what they're calling it now? They're not calling Bitcoin digital gold. They're calling it digital energy. Like, how freaking how mind numb are we and inept? First they said it was a store of value. Then they said it was a digital gold. Now they're saying it's a digital energy. Whatever fits the narrative, right? Oh, you don't got to tell me, Poppy Lou. I've shared the story. I was part of the halt on knock in the stock market. I had options of knock, and it was up like, I paid $1,000, and 3 hours later, it was worth $27,000, and they halted it. You couldn't sell it when it was on the rise up. So what they did is they opened trading for sells, not buys. So when it came back online, it was worth like $11,000, which is still a good gain. But that thing was going parabolic, and they shut it off in the stock market. Robinhood did the same thing with Dogecoin back in the day. They wouldn't let you buy it the day before or 2 days before the big parabolic spike. And if you tried to put a lot of money into it, they banned your account or suspended it. And they did mine for 90 days when I tried to make that purchase. There's so many other exchanges that you do not want regulations. If you trust me on everything, you do not want regulations. Why would you want... So you guys trust the government that much to control and regulate crypto? Since when? Everybody in my audience tells me the government's corrupt, and now you're begging government daddy to help you? Why? That's just what I'm talking about. Why? So we got to keep our eyes forward. That's why I promoted gold and silver and mining stocks for so long. And then in January of this year, I said, please sell out your crypto gains and put it in miners. And then we can talk about it at the end of the year if we need to shift. Tom, from my observations here, it seems that there is a group of people that believe crypto will moon, but I think there is a group of people that feel with regs will create a S&P gradual growth. I don't disagree with you, Defined, and thanks for being a very trusted mod and here and in the Telegram and in Tom's Army for over 6 months. I don't disagree with that at all. Not at all. But everybody talks about crypto like it's a casino and it's going to make us so wealthy. Does everybody realize we might have missed the boat? The exponential growth that happened from 2013 to 2017, it hasn't been matched since 2017. And now with all the ETFs, it's stealing money. So everybody, hey, bring us ETFs. Why? You're trading crypto. If you were trading in the stock market, ask for ETFs so you can trade crypto. But why would you take money out of this market? And why do you listen to everybody who lies to you? Hey, let's take billions of dollars out of the crypto market and throw it in the stock market, buy ETFs. Oh yeah, that should help pump crypto. Said nobody ever that knew anything of anything. I've been talking like this ever since the ETF nonsense came about. So it's not about missing the boat. You didn't miss shit. You just can't buy the dip when it's not the dip. So every market cycle has a different bottom and a different eventual topping area. Right now, if you bought it during 25, after the pump of late 24 into early 25, you're screwed. Because the odds are, even if we pump out, we're never going to get to those prices. Especially if we have regulations. We'll never get back to those tops. That's the problem. It's called regulations by enforcement. Were you guys born today, yesterday, the day before, or do you actually want to learn? That's the thing. Like, do we want to know the truth? Or do we just want to act like it's not happening? You can go to any other station. You can go to any other station and hear them tell you why ETFs are good and regulations are going to explode this market. You come here, I'm going to kick you in the dick because you're not going to hear lies. Period. I've traded too many markets with too many enforced regulations, with too many different optics of the government control, and I've seen it end one way and it always ends one way. Hey, Tom, but the stock market's up. Is it? Is it? Show me the individual stocks outside of the major ones and tell me if it's really up. Or if you're sitting down 70% this year. Okay, commodity stocks are up a couple 100% on some, 100% on it. But that's commodities, miners. That's directly tied to gold and silver. But outside of that, how are a lot of other stocks doing? Just like crypto. Bitcoin looks like it's way up, even here. But when you go to the individual token, they're shit. XRP, like I've said from the beginning, is going to be the deceiver coin, which is why we needed to invest in it when it was cheap. Because as more and more people, because of all of social media and how everybody pushes it, and because it became the darling of cryptocurrency with the lawsuit and everybody thinking they knew something that didn't know shit and lied to you every step of the way, it's the deceiver coin. It made it look like everything else was going to run this much. And what happened to everything else? It didn't do shit. Bitcoin might have run, nothing else did anything. You had a series of coins, maybe 0.00001% of the coins that make your mind feel gambleness. Solana, Bitcoin, XRP, Chainlink. The ones that get your mind moving. The ones that get a lot of narrative, a lot of the talk had these parabolic spikes. And everybody was investing in all the rest because they thought they were going to go up with them. And they did go up from much lower numbers, and then they got hammered. And now they're down 70 to 80%. Nobody wants to acknowledge what's going on. I do. Because I think you can make a lot of gains if you read it right, but you can't just... Well, we'll just let this play out. But if you listen to what I'm saying, you're going to stay ahead. If you don't listen to what I'm saying and you listen to the narrative, you're going to get bent over. The last time the government gave us information before something big happened for us to make a bunch of money was never. This entire time they told you why gold and silver wasn't a store of value, wasn't money, was not a good investment, and why Bitcoin was a store of value and the new digital gold. Now that that narrative turned upside down and everybody feels stupid, now they're coming out and not calling it digital gold. What's the new thing? Ready? What are they telling us Bitcoin is now? Like I've said from the beginning, it's not digital. It ain't shit. Bitcoin, digital energy is the new thing this is the new terminology that's starting to happen. It is digital energy now. It's digital energy. And they started talking about that early on, and then they switched it to digital gold to fit the narrative because the energy narrative wasn't working when things were too expensive. Now they're going back to it's digital energy. Energy. Imagine that. It's digital energy. Now they're not saying it's digital gold. You know why they're not? When was the last time you heard somebody say Bitcoin's digital gold? They sound like an idiot every time they say it. But when gold's gone up from 1,600 to over 4,100, and Bitcoin decided this year it's going to go from 126 to 92, it's not digital gold, friends. It's digital shit. It's digital entrapment. It's enforcement, and this is the biometric scam of the century. This is going to be the entity that forces every single person to go against their beliefs because they want to trade this market, even when it becomes fully regulated by digital biometrics, which means you're going to have to put your fingerprint in, or you're going to have the digital chip to trade crypto. It's digital. I've been talking about this since 21. And I've often said 28 to 32. I don't know the exact day, but that's the end of my trading in crypto. Could be sooner. Could be sooner. I'm not trading it after a certain point. You can see each time that we have a dump and I have to sell out my stuff when it hits the I'm yelling. I'm yelling? No, I'm not yelling. I'm being direct with you, John. Now, if you wanna point at he's yelling, he's getting a little bit passionate about this, you've never heard me yell. I'm glad that you consider this yelling now, because this used to be my low talking voice. See how I've switched the narrative on my audience? This used to be me talking low. Now you consider this me talking loud. See what I did to all of you? I'm not yelling. It's quite the opposite. This isn't yelling. This is nerves. This is nerves for everybody in my audience that won't listen to me, that listens to every other schlub that tells you it's going to go 1,000x. This is every person in my audience that watches me every single day, but still pushes the narrative of every other streamer they watch except my own. I'm not yelling, though. I don't yell anymore. I found it within myself not to yell. Shouldn't look at it like that, John. Unless you're just trying to push my buttons, but that can't work anymore because there's no buttons to push. I finally realized the truth. Your friends are your darkest enemies as well, because they're the first ones that are going to push you through the meat grinder, especially when it comes to talking on social media. So, you know, that's just the way it goes, and I understand that. So, it shouldn't be like that, but it is. Imagine the one person that tells you the truth for free every single day gets the biggest ridicule out of all cryptocurrency influencers. Imagine that. So, we have this inverse left shoulder, inverse head, inverse right shoulder if it can hold. But the question is, can it hold? Can it hold? I just am curious. Do any of you go on any other extremers that tell you these bullshit numbers? And do you go on there and say you're full of shit? Or do you say, oh, thank you for perpetrating something that makes my dick feel good? Like, I'm just curious. Excuse my French. Do you say, thank you for testing my jollies and making me feel real good by lying to me? Do you say this to everybody? Or do you guys just come on and bitch at me all the time? And tell me everything I do wrong? I'm just curious. Because I like hearing what everybody says. You know why? I don't mind if you tell me I'm an idiot or I'm wrong or, you know, whatever. Because that gives us a set narrative here. We can tell what retail is thinking. We can tell what veteran traders are thinking, and we can tell what just the influencers trying to make an easy buck are saying if they're not in it for the right reasons. Like, we can see it all. It's not hard to see. But it gets a little demoralizing a lot of times when I'm trying to be 100% authentic and then people try to tell me things I'm doing. It's almost like, you know, what do you want from me? Would you like me to be direct? Or would you like me to be indirect? Would you like the info? Or would you not like the info? Would you like me to sugarcoat it so that you can smile? Or would you like me to tell the truth so you can cry, weep, and understand what's happening? Like, there's two segments of life we deal with. One is the segment that wants to know the truth. The other one's the one that wants everybody to sugarcoat everything from, which is called the generation we live with now. And I'm not up for that. I'd rather know the truth. If it hurts, even better. It's supposed to hurt. It's the truth. So SHX, basically, you come through the 00929 and you got a problem. Mrs. Stott, thanks for being in town for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor, and says, I only listen to you. Wait, I only listen to you because I learned the other ones were shit after finding you. I know, and that's the shame. Which one said that? Bill? Oh, Will? There was a first-time listener, Julie said, well, I must have missed the comment. Is that just happened, that comment? Okay, so I'll scroll up and try to find it. Let's see if I can find Will. I hustle harder than you. Says a lot of us can vouch for Tom. He does his research. Don't get scammed by these fake crypto YouTubers telling you it's always... Nope, that's the truth. I know, cannabis. Now it's the proof of energy. Oh, they'll say anything to get people to buy. Proof of energy. It's a digital energy now.
This one.
Oh, Julie showed me. Will, thanks for keeping it real. I like it. I'm a first-time listener here. Oh, I appreciate that, Will. Sometimes I scare the first-time listener, so I appreciate the fact that I didn't scare you away. I just try to tell the truth, and sometimes I get a little animated. Not like I used 2 years ago when I would swear and cuss. And the funny line, this, like me being loud right now, this used to be my loud... Julie can acknowledge, wasn't this my quiet voice before? And now this is my loud voice. Isn't that scary?
This is your quiet voice.
It used to be. This is my loud voice now. So I'm trying to tell you, this was me yelling. People think I'm yelling right now talking like this. This used to be my quiet voice. Now it's my loud voice. Julie's even confused by it because a lot of times when I get upset now, I talk quietly. And I say, I think this scares people more when I'm not as emotionally charged. I just talk. Yeah, no, and a lot of, yeah, Dirty Train, you're right. They just haven't met an Italian. And I got 25% Lebanese in me, too, so that never helps. And I have 2 parents that have no emotional boundaries, and they just yell, yell, yell all day long. And they have no functional thought on how it makes you feel when they make you emotionally uncomfortable. And they can't deal with the social circumstance or ever admit that they're wrong. That leads a defined statement on who you are. So it took me years, decades to get around that and understand that I was being taught wrong in that way.
You were spooky to me when I first met you.
It's not that I was military, but my grandpa, who came over from Italy, my dad's dad, who passed away in 2001, he was in the Italian militia, and he was there in Italy when Mussolini came in. Or when Mussolini was in charge, and then the Nazis came in and overtook everything. And he had to get his family over one by one over a series of decades before he finally came over. And my dad was raised with that hardcoreness, and there was no bullshit in my house. It was just... And there was no, like, hey, you're doing a good job acknowledgement either. So you really didn't know where you stood in my house. That was the biggest problem. So I appreciate the strictness. I appreciate being taught, like, the value of $1 and the value of work. But you should have also been taught the value of love. You didn't feel that hardcore connection. There was love. My parents loved me, don't get me wrong. But they have a weird way of showing it. You know? It's easier now, but that's only because I'm older and I can just be like, are you kidding me right now? You guys are still stuck on this, and you guys are in your 60s. Like, my dad turned 67 today, which is awesome. Dad, if you're watching, happy birthday. But, give Mr. T some attention, Julie. Calm Mr. Tom down, left my
Mr. T.
I love it, bright future. Thanks for me. Oh, I love how you said it like that. Thanks for being Tom Sorry. That is awesome. I love how you said that, just snuck it in there. But you're right, John Bugathorpe, and thanks for being in Tom Sorry for over 1 year at the I Told You So Bads. 2 parts to the best parenting consistent structure, which I had. I had a good structure. Don't do as they did, but do as they say kind of thing, because you didn't necessarily want to do some of the things my parents were doing, especially my mom. You don't want to go down that path of, well, you guys know the path of drugs and not so good stuff. So, anyhow,
Throw your parents under the bus.
it's not throwing them under the bus. It's just a learning experience. People want to know how I am the way I am. That's how you get to where you're going. I hustle harder than you says I'm Mexican American. Trust me, I know exactly what you mean. Oh, I don't doubt that. But I like the end of what John said. He says love and empathy on the other is a perfect balance. Because if you're strict, you've still got to show that empathy. It's not that they didn't show empathy. It's just they didn't know how. It's like, I love you, but kind of, you always got the backhanded compliment. I used to talk about this to Julie when I first met her. I know all about the backhanded compliment. All about it. So, you know, there was structure, that's for sure. I don't know. I don't hate what I'm seeing here, though, heading into the 1 o'clock hour. I'm not hating what I'm seeing. Like, I like how we dumped down. It's just, we have to watch this for what it is. Where do you think silver's going next year? I don't like to put timelines on it, on where we're going, but from the beginning, my interpretation of silver's never changed. Like, coming out of that long cup and handle for 40 plus years, and then in the handle by itself was like 11 years or so, maybe a little bit longer. The expectation for silver over time here, we don't know if it takes months, years, or how long it runs without having a major pullback. But $93 is my expectation. But understand, I put this here because $50 or $51, that level needed to hold, which it did right now. And now we've gotten over that 55, which to me is incredible that we've held that area now. But I think the technical target for silver is $93.61. And that's a verifiable target by technical analysis. And some people are like, you're just guessing. No, it's not guessing. It's not guessing. This is the technicals. I'm just showing you what the technicals say. I didn't create the cup. I didn't create the handle. I didn't create the handle out of the cup at 55. I mean, the target out of the handle at 55, or the actual cup target after the handle's fulfilled, hits that target and holds and breaks out at 93. I didn't do that. It's just what the chart shows. Just like I didn't show XRP going to 370 or 380 out of that cup and handle, and then ultimately 549 and 639 if that descending pattern from January of 2018 all the way to November of 24's breakout, if that plays true. I didn't create that target. The technicals did. I only know the target because I understand the technicals. I know it's a strange philosophy, isn't it? Imagine you can generate a basic understanding because you understand the technicals. Is the monthly overbought? You better believe it in silver. Is the weekly in a good spot? I mean, it's pretty interesting that it's still pushing up now after a harsh pull down. But all of these are going to be substantially overbought. You know what the dirty dark secret is? You can stay in overbought for years. For years. Years. Look how long silver basically stayed in this same perpetual motion, and it would go from overbought to oversold to overbought to oversold to overbought, and it literally ranged, you know, from a price of $3, and then it got up to $6, and it would range in the series of that $3 movement. But that was just building the cup. Now we'll never see those prices. Anybody who thinks they're getting $3 silver again is wrong. Yeah, and John, I love that you talked about what Peter Schiff says. I can't remember the exact number, but I'll take your word for it because I know he's talked about this cup and handle as well for a long time. And he says, John Wiseman says, and I love John. He literally keeps me on my game. It makes me think a lot too, which is what I need. Says, you're right, Tom. Peter Schiff says $95, I believe, because of the cup and handle. Absolutely. And then Mike Maloney talks about the several $100 target, but he's talking about after, because he talked about the 90 to 100 push. But Mike Maloney, a lot, if you watch, which Alan Hibbert is ruining his station, and it's making me have like PTSD just to look at the station because the guy's a tool. He talks about the real values of hidden money, but he always throws Bitcoin in as a store of value. Any idiot who tells you Bitcoin's a store of value is an idiot you don't want to listen to. Even if they have a good promotional piece with gold and silver and all that crap, you can't take them at their word because they're telling you Bitcoin is something it's not. And for that, I don't listen to people like that. You might be very spot on when it comes to gold and silver, but Alan Hibbert, if you're watching, there's a reason why I get more views than you when you're on, because nobody takes you seriously. But he promotes Bitcoin as a store of value just like gold and silver, and that is a very dangerous game. But John, no, I'm serious, John. There's people like you that it might sound like I come off hard on John sometimes when I comment back, but it's only because he's been here for so long. And I know that I can be honest and talk my truth, my inner truth when somebody asks. Certain people I won't do that. I'll beat around the bush. But some people allow me to just be myself, and he encourages it. Like, he wants to know what I think. And he puts me on the spot, too, with a lot of things, and I really like it. Him, John Bogathorpe, and a couple others will really... All the World Stage is another one. Will put me on the spot sometimes. There's a lot of you that do it, but in general, John Wiseman... or Wiseman and John Bogathorpe. It's funny, the Johns really bring it with the fire. Will I be back on for the FOMC meeting? I want to be, which is why I'm going to end this here right about now. Because I want to go with my son for the next couple of hours. But this is going to be vital. I'm going to have to be here to cover this. But we haven't done anything yet. We had that fake out yesterday. We had a fake down the day before that allowed us, if you wanted to position in for the possibility of what was coming. And now we're back testing the initial move from yesterday. So what is really happening here? It's very difficult to say. I do like the fact that the 2 hourly came back into oversold for XRP. The 4 hourly even got back from being overbought, guys, just one day ago. And this is where we're looking and saying, ooh, you know, I want this to be more oversold when the meeting comes out. And look, we're back testing the breakout, technically the first layer of this, what we've been calling, and now it's about a 10-day pattern. You first got to break out the 10-day consolidation before you can get up to the 2. And if we can get out of this consolidation, it really opens the door to this upper boundary. I know we have 222 and some stuff in between, but getting out of this consolidation really would help. I am not convinced that we're just going to fall out yet. Now, does the daily scare me a little bit? It always scares me, but the daily's the daily. It's the deceiver one. I'm betting that silver and gold continue to keep running, and then at some point they implement their digital coin backed by silver and gold. Well, all the World Stage, guess what? Their digital coin's already been brought to light by very own Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff has created tokenized gold, and he's created it. And you go to tgold.com, and I'm not promoting, I'm not making commission, I'm not being paid. This isn't a paid endorsement. I'm just giving you the information that I know. It's at tgold.com, and it's going to be tokenized gold. So basically, you buy gold like you normally would, but you buy it, and it goes on to basically you can spend it on a card, or you can trade it P2P, peer-to-peer with somebody else in real time, but somebody who's on tgold.com, somebody who's already been validated, verified, vetted, passed all the background checks, and then he made digital gold. So he had a debate with Chao Zing or Xipeng or the owner of Binance out in Dubai last week, and he kind of got him hook, line, and sinker, and he kept spinning the narrative back on the, Xipeng And to the point to where he's like, all right, we're ending this. This is a good conversation. But yeah, he, I know, MQ, that's the problem right now, that we wicked into the supply zone. You are, anybody who's not in the Telegram and you're not part of Tom's Army, please join Tom's Army. Pay it forward if you appreciate what I do. It's a very small investment into a group of people that can, if you feel alone on an island in crypto and you feel like you can't get the truth, in the Telegram, I desired to make a community where it was legitimately the best minds you could think of and have them in their own little sections and have something you've never seen. Like, oh man. And he is so smart. Him, Nick, there's so many people in here that are just so far ahead. Gilbert's done a great job as well. I've seen Gilbert in here, and he gets busy sometimes, but his charts as well, to give you a perspective outside of it, it's interesting to watch some of these minds in here. And that's the there's so many different sections. I have the pager section, which I don't know why, but people, when I say something, it's just like when I go live, they don't really comment in the actual comment section of YouTube after the live's out, which is what I would encourage. Nobody really shares my stuff the way they should. Some people do, but not the majority. There's like 29% of people that religiously watch my content, and if you're watching in one of this 30% that never subscribe to my channel, you're hurting me, not helping me. No, PAXG is not the same. It's backed by gold, but it's not the same. I can't take PAXG and sell it to... I can't take it for myself and do two different things. One, sell it to somebody else without the help of an exchange, basically. And two, now, depending on exchange, yes, it's basically tallied to the price of gold, but there's a lot of different distinctions. Like, it's not the same as a tokenized gold. It's a way to digitally trade it in a digital sense. But there's a lot of fees that go into it on exchanges. Like, there was one instance where I had PAXG on an exchange, and I had made like 7%, but because of all of the fees that went along with it, because a lot of times it's in the futures market, it actually cost me about 3.5 to 4% per token sold, which kind of sucked. Hold on, I want to look something up real quick. I'm looking on this other tablet. Because I would say XAU would be, you know, I don't know. I just don't. PAXG, it's that digitized form, and that's not the same as being able to buy or sell it on demand, being able to take delivery, and being able to have a card that literally sells out your actual gold ounces that you would own and converts it into cash for you, or you can send it to another person who wants to buy gold and have it all vetted. Like, it's a little bit different. You can track gold bar. Yeah, you sure can. You can, absolutely, my yard. No, you're not wrong about that. You are not wrong about that. You can technically, yeah. You can technically take delivery on it. It's just for every 100 ounces, I believe it is, or every... It's almost 100, I believe. For every... No, it's less than that. Might be for every 30, but 1 out of every 30 ounces that somebody tries to take back with PAXG, they can get. So if there's ever a big run on it, it's paperweight. There's not a one-to-one pairing to where you can just take delivery. There are some nuances to it, for sure. It's just like in the stock market. You can either hold SLV, or you can find a actual physical silver ETF that's actually backed by 100% physical silver. So it makes it's a big... I was looking for somewhere to store profits. That's tricky right now. I would anything that you can put it in that on an exchange, like a lot of the exchanges, the stable coins, the fees, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the fees are becoming absurd. Even on some exchanges that turn USDT into USD to take it into your bank account, they're adding a 1 to 2 to 3% service charge on every sale, which means if you sell $100, that's a $3 charge. Not too bad. If you sell $1,000, that's a $30 charge. People will be like, not bad. If you sell $10,000, it's $300. And they're like, well, wait a minute. That's my own money. If you sell $100,000, you got to pay a $3,000 fee just to put it from USD. You see what I'm saying? So, it's a big difference. I took profit, converted it to ROUSD on Uphold and getting a 5% interest. I'd be very careful on Uphold. I understand they give you these fancy things, but I've talked about my own issues that I had. Josh, thanks for being in town for 3+ months with the XP meter and also the $5 donation. Where will XRP top on this rally? You mean if it holds and doesn't break down? I think 549 to 639 is still the target if it hasn't broken down. But there was a chance here that it could have got hammered after the initial movement up to $3 and after it made everybody whole. But right now, I still think we're in a megaphone until it breaks down. So unless we see the megaphone break down, I am still thinking nothing's changed in the... Oh, wait a minute. I need to go to the other chart. I'm still thinking that it should still play out over the top, which honestly we could say is in a wedge. I mean a broadening wedge here, which is scary. That's a scary proposition because if that's a broadening wedge, if you break down from this pennant, I mean this oh man, this would be, if you break down from what looks like a megaphone right now and it's not bullish and ends up being bearish, this is single-handedly telling you that we're probably, and this is not a joke, if we break down this barrier of what looks like a megaphone and it's not, it's telling you we could come back and retest wherever that wick is at, that exhaustion on any exchange is where you would likely go back to. I just don't like stable coins. I think they're a joke. The more stable coins you have, the less money actually sits in a real token. That's what they don't tell you. Stablecoin dominance goes up, pricing of crypto goes down. They're giving you more options to store your crypto in ways you don't even want to store it. And if you're getting, let me ask you a question, my friend. If you're getting 5% back in interest on Uphold, on ROUSD when it doesn't create income, there's no dividends, there's no earnings, Uphold has no way of making this money. So how are they getting that 5% to give to you? Make sure you ask that question. Because having an ROUSD, if something goes wrong, you can't get it back. It's not, stable coins aren't backed by anything. They're not FDIC insured, even on FDIC insured exchanges. Read the fine print. That's why I believe they want everybody in the stable coins. Because they're not backed by anything. It scares me. It scares me. They're giving us percentages, but yet there's no way. Are they getting it by liquidating people, stealing people's funds? Are other exchanges that do leverage trading in high amounts, is that how they're getting it, by liquidating? Like, there's nobody can ever answer that for me. Where does this money come from to give us the dividend? Which is what that 5% essentially is. When there's no money being made over the top, like literally. That's what I mean. Like, how are we getting interest on this stuff? It scares the hell out of me. The new stablecoin bill says stablecoins will have priority over fiat. Stablecoins are fiat. It's a tricky way of saying I'm storing my fiat. Stablecoins don't go up as the dollar devalues. So if you put it in a stablecoin and the dollar goes from 90 to 70 pairing, well, you might have $10,000 in the stablecoin, and it might still be $10,000 when you take it out, but now it's only worth $7,000. It's no different than holding it in the bank. People need to realize it's a digital bank without any interest. And if you are getting a small, minute amount of interest, I'm out from Uphold since your advice on fire blocks. Absolutely. The fact that Uphold's a tier 1 exchange and doesn't have fire blocks should be the key warning to get the hell out of there. That means they have their own cold wallets to store your stuff. Fireblock stores it on an own unique server to where it's all backed. Now everybody needs to look up Fireblocks and make sure your exchange has it. It's a key component to crack, and they can try to steal your stuff, but if you understand Fireblocks, you can get it back. Just like Defined understands Fireblocks. A lot of people understand Fireblocks now. But I'm going to have to go, guys. This is overextended. And I love that there's 148 people. I love that you're not crucifying me or vilifying me for the fact that I'm telling you the truth. We probably won't have anybody subscribe to the channel. But it's nice to see so many of you are starting to get on board with regulations aren't good. Clarity's not good. And all this other stuff just isn't good. I'm glad that some of you are starting to see the light on XDC being the front of the R3 and SBI in Japan. It's got more interconnections in more different places than XRP, but nobody will tell you it. At its price point, it's one of the best deals in cryptocurrency right now. As far as where it could go, nobody will tell you that. If it breaks 4.4, even though it's a good deal, nobody will tell you that you should sell it and then buy it back at 2 in real time. 2.8, but I will. And I'll show you it for years on end so that you can have the right structure. So I'll tell you things nobody else will. And there's also going to be more deeper stuff. And I've waited years to do this, but I'm also going to have my own fundamental class that I'm teaching. And 99% of people are going to say they don't want to do it, which I don't care. That's fine. But the ones who want to deal with it and want to be a part of it, I put a lot of time and effort into the syllabus, a lot of time into the structure and direction. And it's going to be 8 classes a month for 4 months minimum, $50 a month. And that's just the way it's going to be, which means it's going to be like, I don't know, $6.25 a class. And most people aren't going to do it, that's okay. I either can do that or I have to. My son's special needs, so basically what I'm doing now is I'm going to work for both of us for the next 20 years. And I've already started it, but now I'm taking it to the next level. So it's either I would do this and whatever else I do and then simultaneously work at a place like Charles Schwab, because I've been given interest now from different places that are trading brokerages as an analyst, a financial analyst, but I don't want to do it. A big thing conditional on that is there'd be certain restrictions I can't talk about on my station. And I like to be an open book. So I figure I'm just going to do it myself. And I'm going to create my second job. I'm going to be an independent teacher, which I'm good at already. I used to teach other things in other areas. Fitness and, well, I've done it. There's just other things I've done in my life. But this would be a increasingly expanding field. And I can't wait to do it. It's probably going to start in January. But there's going to be a sign-up list soon. And you won't pay at the very initial part. But you will before the class starts, and there's no exceptions. Nobody's going to be added to the class once it starts, like a regular class. I've thought long and hard about this. And then if there's a lot of interest of people that didn't get in but now want to get in, there will be a class either 4 months later restarting, or I'll add another one if I have time. Other than that, it's whoever's in there's in there. And we're going to have we're only as strong as our weakest link. So if you're in there, don't expect fast-paced movements. We could be talking about the same thing for 3 to 7 classes. If we're only as strong as our weakest link, and that's the best way to learn. I've learned that in the past, because then you go over things at such a level that no matter if you're an expert or not, you've heard it over and over and repeated. So, but you'll hear more about that from Defined. He's actually starting something so he can see the interest through the Telegram and from others that he talks to, like almost like a sign-up sheet. You're going to have Zoom when you do it, and I am using my credit card points that I've saved up. And I'm going to buy an actual laptop for this so that it's going to be way more professional. I'm going to be able to do things in a much better setting, which I'm not excited about the laptop, but it's necessary for this business venture. I won't use it on YouTube, though. I'm going to stay with the tablet. So, you're only as good as the people around you, like the Fine said. Absolutely. Seems like the government knows what blockchain they will use, and the bogus court case makes me think it's XRP. I think long and hard about that. The U.S. government can't use just XRP. Remember, XRP is made for the central banks, which means it can tap into the USA. It can tap in to other central banks around the world, but it can't be the unified measure. Remember that. There's a lot of tokens for a reason, because it's got to be a worldwide thing. But the bullshit lawsuit, again, is for a reason. That's for a reason. It brings in regulation by enforcement. Nobody realizes that. How much regulation out of that case have they made, even though it was a bullshit case? I haven't done anything on Winning Wednesday yet. Nothing on Winning Wednesday yet. Usually I reserve that for the later lot. Well, it just depends, because I don't know if I'm going to continue to do way later lives. If I only got 600 views on last night's live, there's no point. It's a waste of my time. If YouTube's not even going to push it out, I have to do one good live so that can be pushed out all day instead of getting hidden, because then the first live gets hidden and they don't even show the second one until the next day. Well, I hate to break it to YouTube and everybody else who does the algorithm. What I do is day specific. No one's going to watch it tomorrow, what I did today, when there's something out tomorrow. It doesn't make any sense. It's just like, it just doesn't make any sense. So like the live yesterday was a disservice to myself. The people who were in there, it was great. But the ones who didn't get to see it, it was a disservice. Because they didn't release it until this morning. And now it's over 700 views, but it wasn't even released this morning. But what it did was it stopped you from watching the live earlier yesterday, because they didn't want to release it. And when I say they didn't release it, it shows that it was out that long. But they only put it out 4